I didn't quite understand why I enjoyed the gameplay of Outriders so damn much until I realized it's like a juiced up, visceral, adult version of Mass Effect 3 style of combat with a proper endgame and the option to bring along some co-op buddies. You really feel like an unstoppable god at times. However, after 80 hours, I moved on to the next game. Recently, People Can Fly reached out and told me about their latest update, New Horizon, and their latest expansion, Worldslayer, which is out June 30th, but I honestly didn't even know the game was getting the expansion. Let me tell you though, I regret it as it addresses all the problems I had with the original and adds a ton more content. So in this video, I'm going through everything Worldslayer adds to the original game to help returning players decide for themselves if it's worth a look or to help new players decide if it's time to jump in. This is including the new campaign, new items, apocalypse tiers, character upgrades, the endgame roguelike area, and more. Considering I just paid $10 for an expansion of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands and added 7 total minutes of content, $35 for a proper expansion or $50 for the full game and expansion with no microtransactions in a looter shooter seems like a refreshingly honest business practice. Considering you can download a totally free demo and try the game out for yourself right now with no time limit, a practice that has been statistically shown to reduce sales, really underlines what the devs are about. This is the stuff we should be rewarding, not the predatory practices of games like Diablo Immortal. So let's start with the campaign. The original Outriders campaign was a sizable 25 to 35 hours, and Worldslayer adds another 5 to 10 hours on top of that, putting the total campaign size at 30 to 45 hours. The original was met with mixed reviews. Some people weren't overly fond of the story, and some loved it. I loved the original story and found myself dying to find out what happens. I found myself also enjoying the Worldslayer storyline. You're not getting a huge amount of it, rather a chunk to tie up loose ends and put on a bow on the overall package. The campaign takes you to brand new areas that look absolutely beautiful and introduce you to new enemies and bosses that mix the mechanics up. I enjoyed the campaign with a friend, but we were both itching to get to the new end game, ranking up our apocalypse tier and getting some loot, so we didn't really stop to smell the roses, so to speak. However, those who play through the original campaign and then go straight into Worldslayer will appreciate the storytelling and what it does for the pacing and the world state. The problem I had with the original was how they left the story, and I'm glad it's moved forward without giving any spoilers away. However, if you just want to jump straight into the Worldslayer content, you can make a new character and boost it up to level 30, starting right at the beginning of the new campaign. This is a way to make sure friends are at the same spot. Keep in mind, you can replay the whole original campaign with this character if you wish, since you can use the option select story point at any time, so there really is no loss to you if you personally prefer to endgame with friends and to solo for the story. While playing any point of the game, you'll now start gaining Apocalypse tiers instead of the original Challenge tiers. Apocalypse tiers increase the difficulty and modify stats in exchange for better experience and loot. You'll start gaining these tiers from level 1, and you will gain access to the next tier by gaining experience with the tier below it. For example, if your max tier is 5, by playing on Apocalypse tier 5, you'll eventually earn 6. To earn tier 7, you'll need to start playing on tier 6. Each tier gives higher chances of rarer items, but also increases the quality of that loot as well. For example, a level 30 Outrider on Apocalypse tier 15 will start gaining items 20 levels above their maximum, so level 50 items. Unlocking a tier also gives you a reward. For example, unlocking tier 16 gives you a random legendary weapon. There are 40 Apocalypse tiers in total, so the endgame is quite sizable and there's a ton of loot for you to get. The good thing is I never felt like it was unfair. You gain power at the same rate as the difficulty goes up, which was slightly off when it was the lower 15 challenge tiers of old. So even though some content can be quite challenging, you know why you died and can try to improve by approaching the situation in a different way, changing your build, or looking for better loot. Speaking of loot, Worldslayer adds nearly 100 new legendary items and new 5-piece sets alongside updating the existing 3-piece set items. You'll start seeing new items drop immediately alongside new mods on those items. The most amount of time my friend and I spent outside of combat was playing around with our item mods, which completely change up your builds more so than even your skills do, even though there is new pack skill trees and the ascension points, which I'll get to soon. You can change one mod on an item, so your items don't need to be perfect. However, finding perfect drops stand out more than ever now with the introduction of Apocalypse items that have a 1% chance of dropping from the start, but go up quite substantially with Apocalypse tier ranks. These items have an extra mod on them that can't be changed, so an item can have 3 mods now rather than 1 or 2. To give you an example, these boots have on it a mod that increases the range of the Pyromancer skill Feed the Flames. Another mod enables it to hit 2 targets, and another gives allies in close range extra armor. If this rolled perfectly, perhaps instead of the armor, it would give another mod that influences my Feed the Flames build. You'll also notice that it boosts my firepower, which works for my build, but also long range damage, which doesn't. Yet another reason to keep looking for better items, and that's what Worldslayer nails. There are so many items and loot drops so often that you're always finding upgrades and always after new items to suit new build ideas. You can also transmog items, so if you like a particular item's looks but not its stats, you can swap it out and change your current item to look like it. You unlock the transmog simply by finding the item, so you can pick up a cool legendary weapon and now transmog other weapons to look like it. Items really are the driving force behind feeling like a god. One of the criticisms I had with the original Outriders was that the end of the endgame really only had one build for each class that was viable. Since the expeditions were timed, it forced players to focus on a pure DPS build. The timer has been removed from expeditions and a handful more have been added alongside the new roguelike mode, which I'll discuss soon. Skills have been balanced and existing items have been updated. With all these new or updated items, mods and ways to build your character, your particular playstyle or skills are going to be viable. It's refreshing to see that a major criticism players had has been taken seriously by the devs and addressed properly rather than just patched over. Another way you can further customize your character is with Ascension levels. Once you reach the max level of 30, your experience will start going towards Ascension levels, which is similar to games like Diablo. Each level gives you a point to spend to slightly upgrade your stats in one of 20 areas. In my build I opted for a simple firepower and life leech boost, but I can see other builds going for a more thoughtful combo like boosting their armor because a skill of theirs boosts their damage based on the armor and another boosts it by a percentage. The max Ascension level right now is 200, which is a long ways off for me. Also, during the new story campaign and start of the new Taria Gratar area, you'll unlock PAX points. Each class has a separate skill tree specifically for these 5 total points, which further customizes your character's build at their end game. These are no small boosts, and making the difficult choice will be highly dependent on your playstyle. I would have loved to see more skill trees and more skills for each class, but to be fair, I say that about any game with level skills and classes. At the end of the campaign, you'll unlock the area called Taria Gratar. Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but it's a roguelike set of encounters that has top tier rewards and gets progressively more difficult the deeper you go in. This content is designed for groups. You can attempt to solo it, but it'll be more difficult as you'll have no one to revive you, no second chance, and enemies will be focused on only you. I found it easy to matchmake a group, and not only will your rewards be better, you may find a group you enjoy the endgame with. When you enter Taria Gratar, you'll have to make a choice which door to take, similar to the game Hades. Opening the map, you can see there are different areas. You start at a crossroads, which is an area with no enemies, but has a choice of which direction to take. You can either take on a skirmish, which are rooms with enemies of a particular level bonus that gets higher the further you progress with an increasingly better chest reward at the end, or you can take on a trove. A trove is a difficult encounter off the beaten path, but guarantees particular rewards at the end. This one guarantees boots, so if you're looking for a particular item, troves help you farm for your build. They also seem to have a higher chance of rarer items from my testing, though I could be mistaken. The trade-off is you won't be making progress towards the final trial at the end. After you beat a skirmish, you'll have to face a boss at the trial section of Taria Gratar. These will also provide rewards after completing. Eventually, you'll make it to the final chamber and the big rewards. However, if you die at any point, you'll be put back to the start of the area you died. You have 3 attempts, after which point you'll be kicked out completely and need to start the trial again with different enemies. Your current Apocalypse tier influences your drops and the difficulty, and it can't be changed during the run. You can exit the game and resume the run later without having to abandon, but if you want to do other content mid-run, you'll need to abandon and start from the start. The good thing is, after each encounter you are rewarded, so even if you don't make it to the end, you'll be making progress on your build, progress on your Apocalypse tier, and with your Ascension points. Between Taria Gratar and Expeditions, which for those who don't know are endgame repeatable missions with increasingly better rewards and difficulty, the endgame of Outriders is extremely fun. You'll be constantly gaining Ascension points and Apocalypse tiers, as well as new gear that has you spending your hard-earned currency upgrading and modifying in order to try out new builds or maximize your favorite. The rate at which you earn new toys is high, so I felt as though I was constantly being rewarded for putting in time, and that kept me coming back for more. It's a blink and it's 3 AM kind of game, and that's caused havoc on my sleeping patterns lately. Keep in mind, like I mentioned before, you can always replay the campaigns at any point at your current Apocalypse tier, so you'll be in for a challenge as well as getting the appropriate loot drops while you do it, so it'll take a while to be out of things to do. So that's everything Worldslayer adds to Outriders. What do you think? Is this enough to get you into the game, or have you revisiting it? Let me know below. For everything RPG, you're in the right place. Ciao, friends.